How concerned should you be about the Las Vegas Raiders this season as they build on a brand new frontier? What about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their lack of a second wide receiving option? And what do you make of one Kansas City receiver that is being downgraded by FFPC drafters right now that should be higher up in the FFPC Big Gorilla and Main Event ADP? We've got a great show for you. We've got Ferrell Elliott tonight hanging out. And we have, and I'm not going to reveal it right now, I'm going to do it live on air, Steve G. I'm going to try to pronounce his name correctly in about 15 minutes here. But Steve G, the 9-time FFPC league champion, is going to join us tonight to talk about his Big Gorilla teams this year and so much more. We've got a great show for you tonight. Don't go anywhere. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and for LEX tuning in live around the world tonight. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship at myffpc.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You can connect with me on the X, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want, at Eric Balkman. Of course, you know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown and the Better Sports Network's FFPC Insider Access show. More to come on that tonight as we move forward through this hour of fantasy football goodness. The definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott, will join me shortly. He is my co-host. Coming up on tonight's show, we are going to get into a lot tonight because this is our final show of May. And with the final show of May, not only does that bring up a lot of stuff with drafting, it brings up a lot of stuff with the FFPC. And I'm going to tell you why this show is so important on what you're doing with your FFPC account going forward this weekend. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF at Eric Balkman. Check out Ferrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com, KFFSC.com. Post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF. You can also email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, for Ferrell, for me, whoever, for our guest tonight, who is going to be coming on, Steve, is Steve G. Send those in, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the show posts in the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat, the X chat tonight in the fantasy feedback segment coming on later on in the show. I want to thank our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. This is the most, if you take nothing else away from the show tonight, this is what you want to take away. Midnight Pacific time tomorrow night, which we're about, I don't know, what is that, 28 hours away, roughly? That is when the FFPC Main Event Early Bird promotion ends. This is our flagship event. It has a $1 million grand prize. It has a $6 million plus prize pool. The Early Bird deadline will end at midnight Pacific time tomorrow night, Saturday night. You want to get in on this for a few reasons. Number one, you save $200 off your first team. Number two, you're going to be entered into that prestigious FFPC Pros versus Joes Challenge, when 42 FFPC Joes take on 42 industry pros in 7 separate leagues, 6 live ones, 1 slow one, and each winner of those 7 leagues will get a free 2026 FFPC Main Event valued at well over $2,000 to compete for a $1 million grand prize. Slow drafts off and running now, as they have been this whole month. Live drafts for the FFPC Main Event will start tomorrow, and yours truly will be in those draft rooms. So if you want to sign up and hang out with me in those draft rooms, draft for $1 million, I'll be available tomorrow, starting tomorrow. It's going to be great. But the big thing is sign up and make sure you get those main event teams registered prior to midnight Pacific tomorrow night, So you get that $200 discount, and you're entered into the Pros versus Joes Challenge. As a reminder, we broadcast all those live Pros versus Joes Challenge drafts right here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. We will submit them to the Better Sports Network, and they will carry them as well. And we may or may not have you on as a guest for those shows, and you can not only win $1 million in the FFPC Main Event, you can win a free entry into next year's main event as well. It's a lot of fun. It's great. And I'll tell you this right now. I don't know if I should be telling you this. For the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, a show that is in its 14th season, the highest downloaded shows, the most downloaded shows each and every year are always those Pros versus Joes live draft coverage shows. So you are going to be seen by hundreds, thousands of players out there. If you want to be exposed, this is the time to do it. myffpc.com. Just register for your main event teams, and you'll be entered in that drawing. Big Gorilla Tournament going on as well. $1 million grand prize. The 7 Bananas and early Rampage promos going on right now. I'll send out an email about that. I'll send out another email to those of you on the list tomorrow morning to let you know that we still have room in the early Rampage tournament, and the 7 Bananas promos are still live. This is something we've never done before with the FFPC, and a lot of people have been taking advantage, getting free main event teams, getting free best ball teams, and having a chance to win not only $1 million, but a $10,000 grand prize in the early Rampage tournament, which is still going on right now. FFPC Best Ball, FFPC Superflex Best Ball tournaments going on at myffpc.com. And I know I've been talking your ear about this, or off about this. Dynasty leagues still going on. Dynasty startups, myffpc.com. Entry fees range from $100 to $5,000. And we posted this on X today. I don't know if you saw it. We are now the home of well over 2,000 Dynasty leagues. 2,000 Dynasty leagues have their home at myffpc.com. Thank you to all you players who've supported this over the years. If you want to play high stakes Dynasty fantasy football, this is it. We are your home. myffpc.com. 2,000 plus Dynasty leagues. I don't know anybody who's close to that right now. Not that I'm bragging, but I'm just proud. So check that out. It's a great place to play Dynasty Fantasy Football, myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be next Thursday. More to come on that. It's a big show next Thursday as well at myffpc.com. Holy cow. I have been talking way too long. We're already 8 minutes into the show. I have not brought in the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. You check out his contest, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. That's where you can compete against me at the KFFFC, at jferrellelliott on the gram, on the book. He is Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, so good to talk with you tonight. Welcome in, my friend.
What do you know about it?
Well, here's what I know. A couple of weeks ago, we didn't think we were going to see you until June, and now you have bent over backwards. Come on the show tonight, which all our listeners and viewers appreciate.
It's all that yoga I've been doing, Balky. I'm getting myself, flexible. It's a flexible summer coming up. It's good stuff.
It's good stuff as well.
The travel responsibilities, certain things came together, injuries to players that would not play, truncated my trip to Canada. And so here I am with you. I'll have to catch up with the Canadians in June.
So I brought this up earlier tonight. Last night. Jim Coventry was on the High Stakes Fantasy Football, FFPC Insider Access at too many shows.
Yeah,
FFPC,
that's the show you really like doing, though.
No, you say that all the time. I enjoy all my shows equally, and maybe I favor this one most because you and I get to hang out for an hour here tonight.
Oh, I just love it. Boy, did I set you up for that.
You did set me up, and that's why you're the best in the business.
No.
Let's go to Baltimore, Ferrell.
Okay.
John Harbaugh, who is the head coach of the Ravens, and maybe I'm putting too much stock into this. Maybe I'm not putting enough stock into this. But he was talking to Baltimore Ravens reporters this week at OTAs. And he said, quote, about Isaiah Likely, quote, "I want to see him be an all-pro this season." Boggles my mind. Here's why. John Harbaugh went on to say, quote, "That'd be my goal for him. He's capable of it." If you want to be an all-pro, you have to be on the field a lot. You have to produce a lot. And apparently, if Harbaugh is expecting him to be an all-pro, he expects him to be on the field a lot and to produce a lot. This is interesting because Mark Andrews is still on this team. Mark Andrews, a guy that we didn't know if he was going to be on Baltimore going forward, seemingly is going to be on the Ravens this season. Likely had a 9-catch for 111-yard and 1 touchdown performance in 2024 week 1. We saw him be elevated in a lot of FFPC drafts on Thursday night and Friday and Saturday, obviously against Kansas City. After that, 33 catches, 366 yards for the rest of the season. This is a conundrum, but conundrums sometimes can make fantasy football teams, right? And fantasy football dreams winning $1 million right now. So I'm going to bring this up right now as we go to fantasymojo.com. Darren Armani, who is the webmaster at fantasymojo.com, just had him on the Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network last week. And anytime we cite ADP data with the FFPC, it's all Darren Armani's doing. He's the godfather of the Pros versus Joe's Challenge as well. Ferrell, Isaiah Likely is tight end 19 at the 1109. Mark Andrews right now is going at tight end 9 at the 706. Talk me out of this, or maybe I'm crazy. There's no way, after I see what John Harbaugh said, there's no way I'm drafting Mark Andrews, and I'm really focusing on Isaiah Likely as a high-end number 2 tight end in my tight end premium leagues this year. Or am I wrong? How are you viewing what Harbaugh said about Isaiah Likely this week?
We are going to give you the proper counseling over the next 3 months, Balky, that when you get to Kentucky, you will not be suffering from these Isaiah Likely fascinations because, Coach Harbaugh believes all his guys could be Pro Bowlers. I mean, that's his motivation technique. Okay. I really like this player. I really like Likely. Coastal Carolina, 4th-round draft pick, 6'5", runs about a 4.8, but that's okay. He catches the ball well and does what he needs to do. This is not the kind of elite tight end that we see in Bowers, Laporta, McBride. Everyone just thinks if Andrews moves out of the way that he can produce these numbers. And in certain opportunities, he'll have spike games. It usually has to do with defensive coordinators not knowing what to do with him. That's what he was such a big deal in that first game. He was running along the back of the end zone, just waiting for that winning touchdown grab. You remember that ball?
Yep, I do.
Footwork, caught it. Mm-hmm. I was shocked after we left. The FFPC in its wisdom has Thursday night drafts, and after we left, I remember him going as high as the 2nd round. It'll take those guys will have to Listerine, rinse, and gargle to get that taste out of their mouth for the entire. But he's a very, very good football player. He's exactly what he is, a contributing player on a team where no one, including Andrews, you take away Andrews' touchdowns, he's not that big a purchase either in the tight end game. But none of those guys at Baltimore are going to gain the big number 1 receiving numbers, number 1 tight end numbers because of the running back and because of the quarterback. And that's just the way it is. They're great for football, but there's no receiver I like watching more than Flowers in the league. But he's not going to do for you in fantasy football what some other number 1 receivers will do.
So I'm going to say this about, and John Terry and Tom Smith are talking about how crazy I am in drafting. And by the way, I probably am. But I'm going to bring this up with the Ravens. I am not touching Mark Andrews at tight end 9 at the 706. If I was drafting in the FFPC, I'm staying away at that point for a lot of the reasons, Ferrell, that you brought up. David Njoku is a much better pick. Tyler Warren, I think, is a gamble pick. Colston Loveland, who's going back-to-back as tight end 11 and 12, Warren and Loveland at the 808. I'd be much more likely to take those guys. And then if I don't hit on any of those guys, I'll wait. I'll take Ferguson. I'll take Goddard. I might even take Kyle Pitts at that point. But the thing is with Likely, because his value, and maybe his value spikes after what we heard from John Harbaugh, and maybe he goes to a point I don't like at this point. But tight end 19 at the 1108, even with what you said, with how the Ravens offense is going to go, at that point, I'm still willing to pay in a tight end premium format late 11th round for Isaiah Likely as my tight end too. I know I understand, Ferrell. I'm ready to be hurt.
Yeah,
but I'm still willing to say that at that point.
And I think that's where he needs to go. But with talk like this, you talked about moving him up. I think he's right exactly where he needs to be. And but you're injury dependent on Andrews to free that up. And when you begin to look at receiving totals, I think that probably this player likely is a 40 catch player, and Andrews is a 65 or 70 catch player. But Andrews just has a knack for that end zone, and so does this player. I think Lamar Jackson's smart enough to run around, and big guys can get open. So that's the combination of what happens there in the red zone.
I have to bring up the Las Vegas Raiders, Ferrell, and anytime I bring up the Las Vegas Raiders, I take my John Terry Las Vegas Raiders chain off my hook, and I adorn myself with it tonight. And part of the reason for that is what we're hearing from Tashan Reed, who covers the Raiders for The Athletic. Apparently, Chip Kelly has been moving receivers around a lot in OTAs so far. This is his first year as the Raiders offensive coordinator. Jacoby Myers, Jack Besh, guys that we thought would be perimeter guys, they have had time in the slot so far this year. Brock Bowers, who is a big-time player in the slot, who was awesome last year. This makes me feel very warm and fuzzy about all three of those players. What this comes down to, Ferrell, and I think I know where you're going to fall in on this. Where is the deep threat that is going to force the back seven of the defenses playing against the Raiders to give Bowers and Myers and Besh the opportunities to make plays this year? Is Trey Tucker enough? Or are you concerned that they lack that lid lifter that is going to prevent a lot of these Raiders pass catchers from reaching their ceiling in 2025?
Now, they want to extend the passing game as part of the rushing game. It doesn't mean they're going to be boring with it, but they are going to have so much play out of that backfield with the first-round draft pick, and then with Mostert coming in off the bench as a pass catcher. And that's why they're going to move everybody around, because one of those, if they can confuse and complicate the offense to the point that it confuses the defense, that's where your deep down a player just running undefended will become essentially the downfield threat. You don't have to have a motor if you've got the defense out of position and pointing fingers at each other, and that's probably what they're looking to do.
And we'll see if it happens that way. This is something that we'll be watching not only through OTAs but mandatory mini camp and training camp. Obviously, we have a long way to go, but if you want to take a chance right now, I think the Raiders are worth taking a chance on at this point.
Oh, did you say that again, Balky?
The Raiders are worth taking a chance on at this point.
And you're a guy that believes in taking chances in Las Vegas. Hey, can I preempt the show to tell you breaking news out of Las Vegas?
Breaking news brought to you by Ferrell Elliott and the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. Ferrell, what do you have for us out of Las Vegas?
You're wearing your John Terry gift, but I have a gift from the Dom Gazzetti.
Oh, look at that!
But on a recent trip to Las Vegas, this combines Kentucky bourbon, a Nevada distillery, Kentucky bourbon barrels, and a fantastic smoke wagon, Las Vegas straight bourbon whiskey, a gift from the beloved Dom Gazzetti and Kelly. And we had a nice visit while in Las Vegas. And I got to tell you, Balky, even though John Terry's never sent me a gift, this is a lovely, lovely gift. And Dom asked me, he says, do you ever consume, bourbon while doing the show? And I said, absolutely not, Dom, because we got to come with our game face. We got to come ready to go. But I must confess that sometimes, the truth is so sacred in Churchillian terms, it must be defended by a bodyguard of lies. So,
All right, listen.
Thank you, Doms, and that's my breaking news from Las Vegas.
Dom and I are going to hang out in about, I would say, a month or so. He has family, believe it or not, Ferrell. Dom Gazzetti is from the old country, who has family in the old country in Italy. Also has family in glorious Northeast Wisconsin, in Appleton. of all places.
It's
A
amazing.
place that you will be hanging out with me in a couple of months.
I
to
can't
Bible
wait.
Music. It's going
We
to be
have
great.
a travel schedule that is just fantastic.
It's going to be great. We'll be doing our show live from Northeast Wisconsin. I don't want to say Appleton yet. I think we're going to be in De Pere, but we'll find out.
I don't know how to find any of those other places.
That's okay.
No.
I have
But
a
you
driver's
bring
license.
that John Terry Raider thing because I've always wondered how I would look in that. And
You can wear it.
considering that I don't have one, John. But yeah, it was great, and I love headed to Las Vegas, the trade show and all that kind of stuff. And I will be quiet about it in this respect. I got to spend some time with my fantasy football people, and the ones that I miss, I will be returning. I look forward to seeing other fellas out there, including our beloved Richard Ross. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
So more good stuff here. I want to bring on our guest tonight.
That's what we got to do.
I want to bring up, maybe we'll talk with our guest tonight about the Steelers pass catchers and Rashee Rice to find out how he feels.
Yeah, why not?
But I want to bring on our guest tonight, a guy who has had a lot of success in the FFPC last year. He's had a lot of success in the FFPC as long as he's been playing in it. And I'm looking very forward to drafting against him in KFFSC this year. He is the 9-time FFPC league champion, and he is joining us tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. And I won't butcher his name yet. I will butcher his name, but I won't butcher his name yet. Please welcome onto the show the 9-time FFPC champ, Mr. Steve G.
Stevie G,
welcome
there he
in.
is.
Boy,
How
what's
are
going
you?
on?
Yeah,
What are you talking about? I already don't want to draft against you. One KFFFC
No.
draft, and I'm white flags getting raised here.
you and I were already in a KFFSC draft. Was that main event or was that a draft master? I can't remember which
No,
one.
it was a main event.
Main
No,
event.
it was a main event.
Yeah, there's a main event.
First one.
And you are, like, for anybody who is wondering, you are Fantasy Sopranos in KFFSC
right.
and FFPC.
I got a gift too, not just you and Ferrell. I have a gift right behind me that was sent to me. A nice Sopranos poster from somebody.
Who sent that to you? Was that Ferrell?
My friend? Yes. He said, "Welcome to the KFFFC. Here you go."
This family Sopranos, the
That's
family
it.
Sopranos drive. I had to send it on up. I had to send it on up to the Northeast, and I'm glad to see it's got such a nice place on the wall.
That's
How you
it.
doing, Steve?
Steve,
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
we're
Glad
doing
we got
good.
all kinds of fantasy stuff going for you. down
I
there.
am ashamed to admit this, Steve.
Don't say it, Boggy.
No, I'm going to. It doesn't, and maybe the people watching this and viewing this and listening to it don't care. But I graduated from college with a double major, and one of my majors was in radio, TV, film. And part of that radio, TV, film major, we had to watch the pilot episode of The Sopranos, which I absolutely loved. And here's the part that's bad. I have not watched another episode of The Sopranos since then. Which, like,
Well,
it's just,
you know,
if you
it's a good
want to hang
binge
up, I understand. But
listen, the Sopranos, it was a great show. There's a lot of us that draft. There's about 6 of us, so we kind of came up with that one day. It actually started on. We were going to put in a team. The kids watch, listen to the XM radio. So when John Hansen and Kaplan before they retired or left the air, they had the ACI. So we were going to make a video. I had the bada bing. I called the owner. I was going to get that rented out. We were going to send a video. So that's how it started with Hansen on air. We were cracking up. I had called in. So, it was good. So we kind of kept it from there.
it's my understanding, and Hansen, like, I still have communication with. It's my understanding he's retired from SiriusXM, but I don't believe he is, like, I will never be on SiriusXM anymore.
I think they're coming back the first week of July.
So what that is going to be, it's going to be Paul Kelly. It's going to be Joe Dolan, who's going to be coming on the Insider Access FFPC show with me here in a couple of weeks. I think it's going to be them. But the way that Hansen teases it on his podcast with Brian Drake for Fantasy Points, he makes it seem like he is not totally done with SiriusXM.
No,
so I think he's going to be coming on again.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to be coming on. He's doing it so many years, listening to him so many years. He's not going anywhere.
He's
We're all junkies.
We are. And Steve, I want to throw this out there right now. And I practiced this, and maybe I'm wrong. And you told me just, hey, Balky, call me Steve G tonight, and I'm going to do that. But I want to try one crack at your last name here.
Go ahead.
The 9-time FFPC champion joining us tonight, Steve Georgalos. Is that right?
Close.
How close was that? Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
LIS, like Tyler Show, Steve Georgalos.
Georgalos. So
think about Dallas.
This is and is this a Greek name?
Yes, it is.
Greek. Okay, there you go.
Two Greeks.
Oh, it's Irish, Balky. It's Irish. Hey, Balky. The whole man. You are being thrown under.
What do you want from the guy?
You are being thrown under a deluge of buses over here. And what did we just talk about? The truth and how it must be guarded. And you just went out there and said, ask Steve what he's doing for a living, and let's get into this. I got some things to learn from it.
Yeah, so Steve,
I don't know about that, but okay.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I know you're playing a lot of KFFSC, FFPC this year. We want to get into that shortly. Before we do, tell the listeners, when you're not winning all these FFPC leagues, what you're doing for a living to make a buck.
So I have an insurance agency amongst a few other hospitality businesses, a couple of restaurants. I actually own a nightclub. So I keep myself busy. I'm going to cut that out to play more fantasy football, actually, though.
Insurance, nightclub, and all these other listen, you are setting yourself up for a lot of free time to be spending on waivers and drafting, like whatever it is.
Walkie, the nightclub's great. I get to meet ex-NFL players. Okay. So
can you share any names? Who's hanging out?
Well, listen, I tried to get Arian Foster's scripted playbook over a bottle of tequila, but it didn't work. So
at least you tried.
You need to know, right?
At least you tried. Good for you.
I made a valiant attempt.
It's wonderful. Well, Chris Godwin might make his way into your nightclub. If he does, he's got quite a resume to talk to you about. Is it gonna keep going this year, Steve? I drafted him last year, FFPC, wherever I could get him. Should I be doing it again this year? Balky will tell us where he's going, according to another fine Italian gentleman from up in Pennsylvania. So what can we do with God's?
So I'll quote Fantasy Mojo before him because that's the best site to have. When I started playing in the FFPC, you have to understand the landscape. So that anybody who starts playing, you need the website. It's going to tell you a lot of things that you need to know. And I'll tell you that Godwin hasn't moved since February. He's around wide receiver 29-30. So my opinion is that and it's a question that I'll answer straight. When he does come back, I do believe Godwin's going to be an integral part of that team. He's going to pick up where he left off. The problem is it's a kind of a gray area. We can't really understand. I thought that contract was like a declaration of health. I guess I read that wrong. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a habitual Godwin drafter. Godwin and Rashee Rice were my two most drafted wide receivers last year. So you could tell how that went. Mm-hmm. But I think Godwin coming back. It's a little crowded in the wide receiver room at this point. But he is Chris Godwin. He's good at football, great football player. I'll draft him when the build is right.
It's interesting that you say that too, because I like Aiden LaCory, who put together a lot of the FFPC contributors last year in one graphic, and I was part of it. And these were all like, hey, if you could draft any player, who would it be this year? And I said Chris Godwin, and I was looking like a genius until about October when he had that nasty ankle injury on primetime football and was out for the rest of the year.
The guy that looked like the genius was Todd Bowles, keeping him in the game at that time.
No, he did not look like a genius. That's
what I meant.
Yeah, it's just
being facetious.
What the hell was that? Like, and of course, Steve, like my greediness took over. I'm like, yes, more Godwin stats. And
I won the game I won that week on that last catch.
When he got hurt?
Yeah, when he got hurt. That was the worst
catch in the world. You went out on top. Yeah, and you said something about what the money and the contract meant. And you take that general manager, Jason, down in Tampa. He pays for past performance. And that's why people love to play there. And that's why people love being with him. He's got a 13, 14-year veteran playing linebacker down there. And those guys
I
work
listened
hard.
to Chase Edmonds the other day, and he said that Tampa, even though we got hurt, they paid him. They gave him the year.
Yep.
He was speaking. So I guess it's a good thing.
And that's what it's about.
And that is what it's about. I want to ask you, one of your most owned players so far this year, and we'll see how it ends up, Steve. I have Cedric Tilman on a dynasty league on my taxi squad, and I plan on activating him for 2025. It seems like not a lot of people are talking about Tilman this year. Everybody's talking about the Browns quarterback situation, the rise of Jerry Jeudy, the presence of David Njoku, the addition of Harold Bannon Jr. Quietly, Cedric Tilman is going as wide receiver 62. You can get him in the FFPC Big Gorilla, according to Mojo right now, in the mid-14th round.
Yep.
It sounds like FFPC players are sleeping on Tilman. Are they? How do you feel about Tilman for redraft leagues this year?
So it's a matter of build for me a lot of times. And if we remember, when Cedric Tilman was on the field, Jerry Jeudy wasn't the number one target. Or Cedric Tilman was getting the work. Okay. So when Tilman got hit with the concussion, after that's when Jeudy kind of broke out. He had Winston slinging the ball around. He broke out after that. But Cedric Tilman, I kind of think that it was a lost season and they didn't bring him back. I mean, that's kind of some of the stuff that I heard, that yes, he had the concussion, but they didn't think they wanted to rush him back based on the fact of how the season was going. But I feel Cedric Tillman's of value. I do a lot of zero RB builds. So when I'm going to the 14th, sometimes even the 15th round, and I'm looking to grab another wide receiver in my second tier of wide receivers, Cedric Tilman, one of the guys I look for if he's there.
Tilman, hold on, Ferrell, just real quick. I want to piggyback on this. Tilman, started 6 games last year for the Browns, 29 catches, 339 yards. He did get into the end zone three times. So we've heard your Steve. We've heard your talk about Tilman. I want to get your take on why you do a lot of zero RB builds and I'm assuming this is redraft leagues, non best ball, whatever, managed leagues where you have to switch in players week to week. I've been turned on by zero RB over the last few years. Ferrell, I cover your ears. I know you're not a huge fan of it, but I do like to do it a few times in my leagues every year. And I want to get your thoughts on why you like to do it in an FFPC format, why zero RB seems to be a good format for you, a 9-time league champ.
Well, this year could adjust a little bit, but historically, I feel that there's a big drop off on the high tier wide receivers. So when I'm going 5 rounds and I'm looking to take these high end wide receivers, and I feel there's value on these running backs, okay, I try to take advantage of that. Rookies, second year guys that I think have a lot of upside. And I try to incorporate one tight end. Last year kind of burned me a little bit. I incorporated 2 a little too often. I had Trey McBride, but then I was taking Evan Ingram, so that didn't work out. And I didn't work out the way I was hoping to. But I try to do that. Just it's a preference. It's not a rule. And it also depends where I'm drafting from. So if I analyze the first round and I have an early pick, and I feel at my early pick I want to take a running back, I'll go anchor RB, and I'll go from there. If I'm later in the first round, most of the time I like to try to take a stud wide receiver if he's there, a CeeDee Lamb, a Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., whip around, hopefully to get
Puka Nacua. Would you include Puka Nacua in that?
So I'm not a big Puka guy. I was a big Puka guy the first year, his rookie year, when he was going late and picking him up, off waivers. And I wasn't in on Puka last year at all. I think if you look at my drafts, I might have had him in one league. And it's just a matter of I didn't think the cost was there. I was wrong that he's a great player, because this year I'm probably a little more in on him. But last year I avoided him. He got hurt. And, I looked like I was right, but Puka is a good player. I'm starting to get a little back into him now. So I'm definitely more inclined in that back part of the first round to look at Puka Nacua. Okay. look at a Nico Collins. If Derrick Henry's available, which he hasn't been for me much this year. Last year, I had a ton of Derrick Henry on that turn. I had some Saquon Barkley. I got off of him late, Barkley, because I was worried about the tush push and vulturing touchdowns. I was very wrong on that. But if I can get guys like Derrick Henry last year and Barkley, I took them in the second round. This year, I'm a big Bijan guy. I think the guy's steady Eddie. I mean, he stays so far for his first few years. He stays healthy, and that's a big part for me. I don't like to draft too many guys that have an injury history. I try to stay away from them. But that's kind of like my logic, and it all depends. Again, like I said, I love the 0 RB build. I have a lot of targets that I've been taking on these 0 RB builds, and it all depends on where I want to be.
John Terry wants to know in the YouTube chat right now. John Terry, the longtime FFPC champion, he wants to know. God bless it. I'm doing my best, people, right now.
He wants to know who the running back one would be if he.
No, he doesn't want to know that. He wants to know if I can find it here. Good Lord. Okay, I'll find it here. But Steve,
if Steve is doing 0 RB, which running back does he target this year?
Thank you, Ferrell.
So I've kind of been targeting. I mean, I have a board pulled up. I'm in a slow main event draft, right? So I came in here. Let's find myself here. So I actually didn't go 0 RB on this one, but we'll get into the next question. But I kind of start with Cam Scatterboo. I've been taking Tootin. I've been kind of switching off between Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. I have some Jalen Warren. I feel in the 8th and 9th round. I mean, ninth round especially. I'm into him. So it all depends. It all depends who's there, obviously. Quinshawn Junkins, I've been taking a little bit. Caleb Johnson, I've been taking. Because I feel that a lot of the rookies, we all get rookie fever. But I think it's landing spot and path. What's the path to getting snaps? So, in my opinion, Caleb Johnson, and not everybody's not as high on him, but I think Caleb Johnson in that offense has a path to getting a lot of work. And I also like Jalen Warren, so I feel like I'm going a little back and forth depending on who's there and where I'm at. Quinshawn Junkins the same way. I mean, I think he's got a path to getting a lot of work. I'm not as worried about Dylan Sampson, and I'm not worried about Ford at all.
So that makes perfect sense to me. And to continue with the Browns discussion here, Steve, if you are going 0 RB, where you're hitting up all these wide receivers and tight ends early, Cedric Tilman is a guy that you will pound after you get your running backs, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And that makes perfect sense. Let's get into Seattle here, Ferrell.
Well, I want and
go ahead.
Yes, and what I heard in all of that, and you said it twice, depends on where I'm drafting. And Balky, you said I'm not a fan of the 0 RB. Hell, I'm a fan of what anything makes sense. But I will say this: I'm sitting at the number 12 spot. Everyone is drafting wide receivers. At the number 12 spot, I end up with Barkley and then Taylor. It comes back around, I end up with Henry. Yes, 3 fantastic running backs. Taylor a little bit down on the year, but my point is I ran out of healthy receivers. And so everyone can dip in just a little too much. So let's go to Seattle. Steve, when we first started talking on this show, I tried to convince Balky that Walker is just as good a running back as Breece Hall. And after that first season, it looks like I might have had something going. But it's gotten tough. And Walker dropped below 4 yards a carry in Seattle last year. Is 2025 a bounce-back year for him? And we hear talk about trade rumors and things like this. Your thoughts on what you might do with Walker, and if you're 0 RB, he's certainly a guy I would take a risk on.
So I'm in a slow draft main event, and in the 4th round, I took Kenneth Walker. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't draft a lot of Kenneth Walker, and I'm going to tell you my reasoning why. And I think he's uber talented, and I think that he's as good as Breece Hall. My problem is the guy can't stay healthy. I believe that oblique injury he has. I had read somewhere and you don't believe everything you read, but I had read somewhere that should require surgery, and he's not doing the surgery. Okay, I either read it somewhere or heard it somewhere, but it kind of makes a little sense that he really doesn't heal right. It comes back almost every year. So I took Kenneth Walker in the 4th round, and although I'm not a monster take my own cuff guy, I took Zach Charbonnet in the 9th round because I just I don't believe that he's going to stay healthy. So, that's just my thought on it. But if he is healthy and he can't stay healthy, this guy's a league winner. Bottom line.
That's the risk I'm willing to take. Although he hasn't stayed healthy.
That's the problem.
And the other thing, and you guys didn't mention this, but and I know it's a day 3 pick and it's probably a throwaway pick, but I think Damen Martinez more represents the skill set that Kenneth Walker has as opposed to Zach Charbonnet. And I can't remember who I was listening to about this within the last week or so, but they were talking about kind of the reason why Seattle ended up going with Charbonnet was because he represented a different type of running back than what Kenneth Walker was. And now for whatever reason, and I shouldn't say whatever reason, for what it's worth, Kenneth Walker, even after they drafted Charbonnet, he's still been the lead guy there. So obviously the coaching staff still like Walker over Charbonnet. But when you add Martinez in and you have these, supposed trade rumors coming in with Walker, I think we have to take notice. And I am still on team Walker will not be traded. That's how I'm drafting these Seattle running backs. But I understand the potential for him to be on another team starting.
Well, when there's smoke, there's fire. So yes, we could say no, we don't believe in, and we are what we are. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Damen Martinez is great. I love them out of Miami. So,
and everybody believes in the NFL you must have 2 running backs. Just ask Harbaugh.
At least 2.
At least the Harbaugh in Chargers. At least the Harbaugh out in the other one might just need 1. I don't know.
Well, when you have Derrick Henry, I mean, you're good.
Might.
You're good. So let's get into another running back situation here, Steve. Tennessee, for the umpteenth year in a row.
Let's don't talk about anything. Let's go 0 wide receivers and don't talk about anything.
But here's the thing.
0 wide receivers.
Yes, 0
wide receivers for tonight.
Let's just talk about running back.
If you are going 0 WR, you are not going to.
You're the right show.
Yeah. Wrong guys.
But if you are going 0 RB, I think one of your first running backs that you could choose is the Titans running back, who is going to have Cam Ward under center this year. Calvin Ridley, Shamir DK, Alec Alminer, Chigakonkwo. There's a lot of playmakers there. And I think this will indirectly or maybe directly affect the Tennessee running game. Steve, if I were to ask you who the correct running back is to draft in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament right now, and I'll tell you right now, Tyjae Spears is going off at running back 44 at the 11:04. Tony Pollard is going to be going off right now as running back 28 at the 7:05. 4 rounds separate these two guys, which to me seems like a lot. Are you willing to pay up for Pollard, or do you think the proper way to draft these guys to win $1 million is to let Pollard be taken by somebody else, wait 4 rounds and take Spears? How do you feel about this?
So this is such a loaded question because they're both good running backs for this type of build. Okay. Very good running backs. And Callahan came out and he said he wants to even this workload out, even though he said the same thing last year, that he was looking to and Pollard was clearly from day one the lead. And I took a lot of Spears last year. So I felt the pain, injury, lack of reps. I think he hurt himself in week 2. He hurt an ankle. Then he had week 6. He had a hamstring. Then he had a couple of concussions. Pollard couldn't stay healthy after week 9. He was on the injury report every week. So, it's tough to say. I personally look at value, but there's times, and I did a lot of big gorillas prior to, I've done, we and the team have done about 30 of them. So I've taken Pollard a little bit. I've taken more of Spears. I kind of backed off. I took my shares that I wanted early and I kind of backed off on them a little bit. But if I'm building and I'm, I want to take a different RB at where's Pollard go? Around round 6. You know, if I want to take a Judkins or a Caleb Johnson, I'm not going to take Tony Pollard. I'd rather take Tajay Spears. So that's kind of my take. I don't think there's a better one who you should be drafting. I think, again, it's situational. When you're building teams, you can't draft from emotion. I've done that. I did that in a live YouTube the other day. I was with my main man, Michael Reddy, the king of my group, and I hate A.J. Brown. So he dropped to the 3rd round, and he was like, "Oh, A.J. Brown." Forget this guy, I said. And he took George Kittle. So I got roasted for that. So you can't draft with emotion. You have to draft, you know, you have a strategy, you have a build, you have a process, stick to the process. Sometimes you won't get the results from the process, but if the process is correct, the results come. That's my opinion.
They do, and that's the thing. It's all about process. By the way, the process of pronouncing Elik Ayamaner it has been called into question with Adam.
You
Hahn.
have the gauntlet thrown at you.
I don't know if I'm mispronouncing it. I thought it was Ayamaner. Adam Hahn says pronounce Ayamaner correctly 3 times in a row. So as far as I know, it's Ayamaner.
Fantastic.
I don't know.
Kudos to Adam to bring that up on a night when we're struggling with our guest name. Matter of fact, Steve, when you win all the trophies in the KFFSC, I want you to pick a relative that you're closest to. That will be the one that will fly in and present your trophies to you from the die. Where that way, you know, I won't get exposed as not being a broadcast professional like Balky is. Let's staying with professional running backs. I look at the Jordan Mason. He was a favorite of mine when he was 49ers. Not a favorite fantasy player, but just a favorite story. He's undrafted free agent. He's 5'11", big bodied. He's the kind of guy you hope makes the team, and maybe he made their team because the superstar running back can't stay healthy with the 49ers. Now he moves on to Minnesota. And I want to pump the brakes and say, everybody, just consider this. It's an undrafted player that was a change of pace back with the 49ers. So I'm finding all kinds of reasons why this guy might be a career backbench contributor player. And then I look at the fact that every time he carries the ball, he averages more than 5 yards a carry. Your thoughts about what this change of scenery does for Jordan Mason in 2025?
Oh, I really like Jordan Mason. I've been drafting him on the early best balls. I was getting him in like the 12th or 13th round. He's moved up now. I think his ADP, I think he's going at running back 35. He started at 53. I think that's about accurate. I personally, the situation's great. He jumps into an offense that he already knows. It's the same offense that he had in San Francisco. So you're not asking him to learn too much more, right? And Aaron Jones getting older. They worked him to the bone last year. He started breaking down late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I feel they're gonna definitely try to give less reps to Aaron Jones. He's gonna be effective. I love Aaron Jones too. Some of my biggest championship teams have had Aaron Jones on them. So I really like Aaron Jones. Jordan Mason, different type of player. I personally feel that this is a great fit for him, and I'm all in on Jordan Mason.
Very good.
He's going too high. He is going a little too high now. I mean, I think he's dropped to the 8th round, but he's still got an opportunity to get snaps. He's got an opportunity to be effective. You go 0 RB, he's definitely a good play.
I think what's fascinating here when you consider the Vikings running backs, Jones is, and even after the Vikings traded for the Jordan Mason and then they gave him that contract, I never would have thought it was going to be this close. But Aaron Jones, running back 26, 6'11", Jordan Mason, running back 35, 904. So you're talking about like basically 2.5 rounds difference. And I think we have FFPC players are drafting this guy as a 1B rather than a true number 2 right now.
I'm in a slow main event now, and he went on the 8-9 turn. He went on, and Shark drafted him, and he actually drafted Tony Pollard and Jordan Mason, and this guy's pretty well respected. Okay, and it kind of tells you, and he drafted a third running back we might talk about tonight. So definitely Jordan Mason, 0 RB build. I'm all in on him.
I've been ignoring the YouTube chat way too much tonight. I want to get into it.
It is great.
It's been fantastic. Dom Guzzetti, our good buddy, wants to know here, Steve. This question got brought up on another podcast. Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift. Which one of those three do you like best?
I'm going to say something, and it might end up a year from now, you guys telling me what was I thinking. But I really think Swift has a lot of upside. He's disappointed us year after year, but I really think with Ben Johnson's offense, and we talk about that. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a very poor man's, a broke man's Jahmyr Gibbs. But I do think that he has some kind of potential in this. I like Tony Pollard, but I don't think he's going to be anything. I don't think he's going to be a RB1. And Aaron Jones, he's getting older. They're going to cut his reps. So Swift has a possibility to be the best one out of these three.
What's fascinating is, and like, I guess, if we're drafting in May, we are taking advantage of drafting DeAndre Swift where he is. Because if they do sign J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb, as the YouTube chat is intimating right now, you are looking at a situation where Swift might not be the guy. But if they don't, and I think it's more realistic that they do not add another running back in free agency prior to the start of the season.
I agree.
Swift is the guy here.
I think so.
Yeah, I've been adding, I think Dizzle was talking about this in the YouTube chat too, but I've been adding Roschon Johnson late, just in case something happens to Swift and you have Johnson there, and then he could be the featured running back in a Ben Johnson offense that features Caleb Williams, Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, all these guys, and he's the featured running back. I love that.
I'm going to use one of your lines. There's a non-zero chance that DeAndre Swift, that is a league winner.
Oh God, I love that.
There definitely is a non-zero chance.
You're on fire when you start using Balky's line.
I gotta try once in a while. His beard's a lot nicer than mine, but I gotta give it a shot.
It has growth potential. Your beard, Steve.
That's you're right.
The Dizzle is on fire. He came on early, and you guys didn't say anything about it. The Dizzle came in here. 0 TD is a perfect way to describe the low-scoring Titans backfield. I like that a little bit. And Steve, I'll do it too. It's a non-zero chance that the Cowboys move Dak Prescott to running back. So let's talk about Dak Prescott. Now, can you make a case? Can you make a case for me that we should jump back on the Dak Prescott train? Because in each odd year since 2019, in each odd year, Dak Prescott has been 30-plus touchdowns. Even years, rough for Dak Prescott. Odd years, 30-plus touchdowns. Coming back healthy as Dak Prescott this year into a Dallas Cowboy. And we're talking about what's left from Pittsburgh. Let's talk about what's added in Dallas. I like the idea of Prescott, and Balky will tell us from Armani's own statistics that Prescott is damn near freer than he's ever been in the FFPC. Am I right about that, buddy?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. So Dak Prescott in the FFPC Big Gorilla is going off as quarterback 12. He has risen over the last couple of weeks, so he's up to quarterback 12, but you can still draft him in the mid-12th round.
Wow. They're not drafting quarterbacks, Steve.
I have a draft board up. I'm going to go back to this draft board because I've drafted a lot of Dak Prescott.
Yes.
And Jim Coventry was on the money every other year. Mm-hmm. It looks like Prescott is a winner.
You mean somebody discovered that before I did?
I think so. Last night, live on the show.
FFPC Insider Access. Jim Coventry brought this up.
That's it. He said
on Balky's show. This was brought up.
So 2 years ago,
embarrassing. I've got to drink some more of this bourbon now.
Take some more. I'm going to tell you another thing that some beginner's luck. So 2 years ago, Dak was going about the same way. He was dropping on boards, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Balky might have the numbers. I think I finished that year tied for 12th in the main event scoring in the regular season. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had Dak Prescott, and I had another one of your Raider boys now. I had what's his name?
Mostert.
Mostert.
You can never have enough Raider boys.
Never had. I had Mostert. He was a dart throw. So I was alternating, taking Mostert and Jeff Wilson. It just so happened that team, I guessed right. I had Dak Prescott. I want to say I had CeeDee Lamb. I had and it just came together with Mostert. But Dak, I love him. I'm going to keep drafting him. If I get him I got him in the 14th round 2 weeks ago. So I got 12th round, 14th round. I haven't drafted a quarterback. Dak Prescott, I'm in all day. And in the 20th round,
I think I will be too, Steve, with your endorsement. There's some guy named Boogerman Freeman on here that says Dak will be on waivers by week 5. Boogerman's going to have to go back to remedial general manager school. You can't do. Oh, it was Borger. Well, Mr. Freeman, that's not correct.
It's Devontae's brother. That's I think who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the thing. Dom Gazzetti wants to know here tonight, Steve, what part of the old country are you from? He says he's Calabrese over there.
So all my friends are Calabrese and a Sicilian from Corleone. But I have a lot of Calabrese friends. A lot.
Okay. But then the Dizzle is saying he thinks you're Greek. So
yeah, I am Greek.
Greek and Italian, both of them?
No. I'm Greek. I'm 100% Greek.
100%.
They're both old countries, Dizzle.
That's it. But I grew up with all Italians, so.
Okay, there you go. Okay, Michael Kinzel wants to know, and we're gonna put this on blast here. Would you draft CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Dak Prescott all in the same draft? Whether I don't know if he's talking best ball or big.
You have to be a little more specific. I wouldn't do that in redraft, but I would love to do it in best ball. That would be a dream if I get those guys.
But you could get all three of those guys.
Right? Yeah,
now.
You could.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, I might have done one, and Pickens got traded, so I ended up having CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, and Dak Prescott.
You fell into it,
and I think I got Jaden Blue, so I really have a lot of that offense.
Thursday night's kickoff will be a great time for you.
That's for sure.
Can you imagine that? Somebody who has Prescott, Blue, Pickens, and Lamb all in the same team.
Let's
they drafted in like May or April. I love it. Okay, final question, Ferrell. We're gonna skip ahead because we're running out of time here.
Really?
Yes, we
are.
Can't
go long.
No, we'll go long, but we have to get this for sure. This final question.
Oh, you're a man of many decisions, sir, but you've already made one on this player that you will not have on your roster. And then you've got a guy that you're targeting. Now, I know you're kind of like me in that you can find a lot of good in a lot of players, but I know there's a guy out there that you're just not going for at all. And I know that there's one guy that you're going to make sure that you get more than others. Who are they?
So I was thinking about this question, and I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. There's one player that everybody's going to look at me and say, I might be nuts. Christian McCaffrey. I don't want any part of him. I didn't draft him at all last year. 0 I drafted of McCaffrey. Balky, you could pull it up. And I drafted a lot of teams last year, and I had 0 Christian McCaffrey. I just feel that the risk and reward, there's a lot of reward, but the risk of taking McCaffrey where he's going, he's creeped into the first round, I think, in a lot of these FFPC drafts. So he's creeping into the first round. It's not, for me, it's not something that I want to get involved in, right? But again, it might shoot me, I might get shot in the leg at the end of the year. McCaffrey's RB1 league winner, and it could happen. For me, I would rather go a different route at that point. I'd rather take Derrick Henry than take Christian McCaffrey.
I can see that.
So I'll just, before you get to the rest of this question, I'm just going to point this out. Christian McCaffrey, Steve, he turns 31 this year, or 30 or 31, right?
Something like that.
Somewhere in the 30s. Running back 5 at the 112. I don't know what the hit rate is on 30-year-old running backs being drafted at the end of the first round in the FFPC Main Event or the FFPC Big Gorilla or what have you. I'm willing to bet that you are better off drafting a younger player there, like Trey McBride, Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devon Achane, Nico Collins. All these guys are going after McCaffrey. Now, I'm not saying that if you draft McCaffrey at the end of the first round, you're dead money. I'm not saying that. But I would this is what I'm imploring to people. And I've said this for years on the show. It's the 14th year doing the show, and I've always said this. This is a young man's game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a young man's game. And when you come to drafting a 30-year-old running back who is going to be playing, if he's going to hit on for your teams this year, he's going to have to play in 13, 14, maybe even 15 games this year. The running back position has been compared to being in 4 or 5 car accidents every single week. I'm not betting on a 30-year-old handling that well. I was in a bad car accident.
Yeah, what would you know about that?
Yeah. I was in a bad car accident a few weeks ago. I couldn't handle doing 4 of those every week, even if I was in peak physical shape. So to your point, Steve, I understand where you were off him in 2024, and I 100% understand why you're off him in 2025. I think the pastures are greener elsewhere. Now, I might draft McCaffrey, maybe here or there, but most likely I will be going elsewhere with my end of the first round, my start of the second round pick this year for sure. I'm totally with you on this, my friend.
So 2-point question, though, Balky. In the words of George Thorogood, who do you love?
So I'm going to answer that question, and I'm going to tell you that I can love a different person in a different spot.
Yep.
So I can't say that I want one player no matter what. And, I definitely, even though Cedric Tilman's my Michael Pittman, you know what I'm saying to you, Ferrell, I still like to, my person that I want on every one of my teams is the value pick that drops into the right round. And that's who I want on every one of my teams.
Which, of course, is Michael Pittman. Tom Smith threw out a question a moment ago. And I said, my answer to that is Tom Pittman or Michael Pittman, no matter what.
That's it.
So what is your no matter what?
Well, honestly, I like Trey McBride. If I could have him on every one of my teams.
No matter what, it's Trey McBride.
If I could get him on any one of my teams, I would love to have Trey McBride. But again, I don't have one player that I say I'm not going to sleep at night because I didn't get him in my draft. I like to, see where it comes out. And the best way to do that, I encourage everybody that can get to Vegas live. When you go to Vegas and draft live, there's so much of that, right? It's a different way to draft. Players drop where, I think I got Devontae Adams in a draft in the 5th round last year. So, that's you got to find the pockets of strength in these draft boards.
Let me ask you just real quick on the Trey McBride comment. Is there something to be said for, and I was just listening, I think it was 32 Beat Writers had this on their podcast earlier this week where they're talking about a guy who covers the Cardinals. And I think it's worth bringing up. Is there something to be said for, hey, maybe Marvin Harrison's lack of production was not all Marvin Harrison. Maybe some of it was Murray. Maybe a lot of it was the offense. Maybe a lot of it was coaching. I don't know. But when you bring it down to Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, do you think that McBride's yardage and maybe not touchdowns because he had like none?
Yeah, we have to have positive regression there.
There's got to be a positive regression with touchdowns. Right. Maybe that's the answer to this question.
Right.
That he won't get the yardage that he did last year, this year, but he'll get the touchdowns. And maybe that's the answer here, Steve, that it negates itself, where he'll get more touchdowns, he'll get fewer yardage, it'll come out in the wash, and he'll still be a top.
I just think he's good at football, so I think he's in the right spot. I don't think Kyler Murray's the greatest quarterback. I mean, I don't think I think he plays too many video games, but at the end of the day, Trey McBride, and I think Marvin Harrison's going to be good this year too. I think he takes a step forward. So I'm in on them. Even Michael Wilson has a chance to break out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael Wilson is interesting because he's got that prototypical size. He is, and I was listening to, again, this is a guy who covers the Cardinals for a living, and he said like the number 2 wide receiver should be Wilson this year. Will it be? I don't know.
My man Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch.
Well, that's the other thing. The host brought up Dortch. He's like, I'm ready to be hurt again. And he's like, just stay away from Dortch this year. It should be Wilson. So I'm like done with Dortch. I'm like, I'd rather
Done with Dortch.
done
You know,
with
that's a
Dortch.
good one.
My latest KFFSC team name. I would be more likely to draft Brandon Cooks, the New Orleans Saints, in the 28th round of an FFPC league or a KFFSC Draft Masters than I would like Greg Dortch this year. That's just how I am on this. Okay. We are way over time. Here's the thing, Steve. I want to talk with you another hour. We can't. Here's the thing. We talked about this, and you were hanging out in the chat last night on the FFPC Insider Access show with myself and Jim Coventry. You've been hanging out on this show the last several weeks, the last several months, and you are putting together an FFPC High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour T-shirt that will feature Ferrell and myself. What's the latest update you can give us on that?
We're trying to get a clear picture via AI. You got to get a good snapshot,
Right.
but it's getting there. I need about a week.
Okay, about a week, which is good because if Ferrell and I get on a T-shirt that will be sold to the masses, quite frankly, that would be a bigger win than AI for the.
I don't know how you're gonna handle it live in Vegas when people.
We wouldn't. We would not. It would end. There would be no live event anymore in Las Vegas.
And by January, they'll be cleaning toilets all across the country with those two. But an artist did a picture of me, sunglasses and hair. So maybe I should just send you that.
I'm trying to capture this. So I'm trying to capture this right here because this is great. It's been going on for 14 years. So
Yeah.
Are you going to get this aggravated Japanese warrior?
It should be in the background.
That's part of it, Ferrell. At this point,
It's gotta be.
Yeah, that's part of it at this point. I got my my Game of Thrones All Men Must Die. I got my Seinfeld. If I can.
Yeah, he's over there.
So I'm going to tell you a little secret. You told me you saw the pilot only of The Sopranos.
Yeah,
That's the only one I've ever seen.
I was hoping we could.
I've probably only seen the pilot of Seinfeld. So everybody's a big Seinfeld guy. So we have something in common.
All right, so Steve, I'm going to tell you this right now. I a few weeks ago I said I was going to make a point, and I've become the new host of a pop culture podcast here in Northeast Wisconsin, so I have to be up on stuff, and we've also gotten some requests from viewers and listeners about like watching stuff.
You're not going to ask me what the pink stuff was on Stefan.
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. But I'm going to say this, like a lot of people are saying, hey, Balky, you need to watch The Wire, but The Sopranos is the one that keeps coming up again. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm going to have to like set aside 45 minutes every night to watch The Sopranos all the way through. And I've seen parts of the series finale. I've seen the whole thing of the pilot, and I know of other stuff that goes on in it, but I feel like I really need to get dialed in. Dizzle, who is in the chat right now, he will tell you Sopranos is a little bit dated right now, but it's still worth watching. Like, it is amazing television.
You shouldn't have said that. But okay. But I will tell you this, and it's just commentary to why Steve is a multi-business, successful business owner, and you are a broadcast genius. And it's because I've seen every episode of both those shows 4 times. So, it's how you're spending your time, and you guys might be spending it a little more wisely than I am. But,
We have a lot of people chiming in right now.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Dom Gazzetti, who is saying, like, you have too many Italians in your corner.
Dom is ashamed.
And he also said, like, he's like, yes, Balky said he watched it for an assignment for his television degree. I have a radio, TV, film degree, and part of I had to watch it, and I had to like do an analysis of it. So yes, that is the reason I.
What school is that from?
The University of Wisconsin Oshkosh that just got eliminated from the Division III World Series. That is the school I went to. Which, by the way, and before everybody like casting it, who cares about UWO? We have sent a ton of people to Los Angeles over the course of the last 20 years. We've worked on Wipeout. We've worked on Desperate Housewife. We worked on a lot of ABC shows. A lot of people that I know that have gone on to do great things. I have a colleague of mine. We hosted. I don't want to get into the thing on this, but we hosted a panel where fellow graduates came by and we talked about like, hey, how do you make it big in the radio, TV, film industry? And that woman that I co-hosted the panel with is one of the producers, or I shouldn't say producers. I think she's one of the PAs for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia now.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like, we have a pipeline to Hollywood. Like we're doing it. And I feel like I'm embarrassing my college every time I say, I've only seen one episode of The Sopranos.
I'm afraid some type of academic administrative combination of people are going to show up on your front porch and reclaim that diploma.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't want to do that. I 100% don't want to do that.
You better just stop now.
There was no college play. Michael Kinzel. Dizzle also graduated from the same school I did. He went to it for a real degree as opposed to my double major in journalism and radio, TV, film.
It's a real degree.
Well, listen, whatever. We're not here to talk about my degree tonight. We are here to celebrate the 9-time FFPC champion, Steve G, who is dutifully working on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour t-shirt. He is going to be competing not only in the KFFSC, but Steve, you're in, my God, the High Society, the Big Payback. You're doing a lot of high.
Yeah, you got me last year in the High Society, Balky. You gave me the deck. I pulled the ace. I panicked. I still drafted. I didn't want to draft Saquon Barkley. I got the first pick. I said, do I take the first pick and draft Saquon Barkley? I took the 5th pick and I still drafted Saquon Barkley. So here you go.
Hold on. Was this after? When was this? Was this after Thursday or Friday?
It might have been the Friday one.
Friday. Okay. All right.
It might have been the Friday one.
That was great for you. You had to love it, right?
It was my first donation to the High Society. So this year I'm hoping that Hubbard was going like this when I sat down and took that 5th pick. So I said, I made a statement. I said, I'd rather play poker against that team than draft fantasy football. And those guys are accomplished poker players with great. That's how good they are. So
yeah,
but it was good.
So much fun every single year, and I can't wait to have you. I'll be facilitating those drafts again this year. We've already competed against each other in KFFSC. I'm sure that will not be our only league that we have competed against each other. The Fantasy Sopranos franchise, owned by Steve G. Ladies and gentlemen, the guest on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. My God, what a great time. Time has flown by. Be good. I will continue to watch The Sopranos as much as I can.
Ask me any questions you want, Bulky. Any analysis on them.
I will reach out to you because I do like to crowdsource opinions on the internet after I watch something just to make sure I'm not missing anything.
You'll notice Tony's accent changes from the pilot to the end of the show. The accent is completely different.
Really?
Yes,
absolutely.
I did not know that. Okay. I'm very excited, because I watched the pilot, which I know is a famous episode, but the other one is it the what's it called? The Twin Pines or Two Pines, where they're chasing the Russian guy in the woods.
That's great. It's a great line in that one.
All right. So Christopher Molasanti will be entertaining me at some point shortly because I'm very excited to watch this. I'm very excited to talk with you.
You should be.
Steve, this was so much fun.
It was great, guys. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the rest of drafting season. We will talk with you again shortly, and I know that I'll be facilitating your drafts out in Las Vegas at Paris Casino. Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you guys. Take care. Have a good night, guys.
Absolutely.
Come back soon, Steve.
That is Steve G hanging out the Fantasy Sopranos, joining us on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. Farrell, I don't know. Like I do this 2-hour show on Thursdays, and I'm always worried. I'm like, God, am I going to have enough content? And then I do this show on Fridays, and I feel like we have too much content. And
I feel like on Thursday you're kind of cheating on us. Is what I feel.
No, I'm cheating on you, and I feel like we could go 2 full hours tonight.
We've got like Jimmy Williams came in the show late. I think James Hicks was in there earlier. I'd like to see if anybody can comment in the
Pine Barrens. By the way, Dizzle is pointing that out. I'm sorry.
I love that.
It's the Pine Barrens episode. Yes.
I'm curious if anyone can point out what Furio had to say about golf. That was one of my favorite lines. Well, you don't know who any of these people are.
Oh,
so, what did Furio have to say
I don't know this.
Furio. Yes, Furio is a character.
Ferrell, I'm gonna give you this right now. 2 nights. No, listen. Two night and Dizzle.
Gerzak came in with it. The
All right.
Dizzle.
All right. So
I think it's the other way around. I think you used stupid first.
yeah. Okay. Well, there it is. I'm gonna and Dizzle will appreciate this. So a lot of times I will work late into the night, and I will have trouble falling asleep at night.
That's why you got so many kids.
Exactly. But I was watching, I don't know why I stumbled upon this. I was watching Norm Macdonald doing SNL weekend update jokes, which was fantastic. Like there's no real end to the story here. Like from what we're talking about, like with the Sopranos or whatever, I just look back on all the jokes he was making about O.J. Simpson back in the day or whatever. And I'm telling you, man, like there are certain things I will watch and I will be able to fall asleep to within like 4 or 5 minutes at night. But when I put Norm Macdonald on my YouTube late at night, I can't, it's 2 hours worth. And it's just like, I didn't really appreciate how good he was while he was alive. And now I watch his stuff. God, it is so good.
He's the
so
best.
Funny. He is.
Came out here on a plane.
He's the man. I mean,
you know, that's his line.
Came out here on the plane.
Came out here on the plane. Yeah, you're here, Norm. Yeah, I came out here on the plane.
Well, yes, and he had the whole Hitler's dog thing. That was another big. Yes. But I mean, like there's like YouTube videos, like 25 minutes, 50 minutes, 105 minutes long, of him just doing nothing but O.J. Simpson jokes. And like it's just, God, the deadpan stuff is so good. And you watch like, you know, these comedians nowadays, like Mark Maron and Conan O'Brien, and they will bring other comedians on and they will talk about those jokes.
Yeah, that's all they want to talk about.
And again, I don't know how we got on the subject or how I got on the subject of this.
Well, you're a well-rounded individual. Courtney Thorne-Smith, Norm Macdonald.
Oh, yes.
That is probably the best one, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
So there's two.
I would want everybody in the chat room to see that when he talks about Carrot Top.
I'm gonna leave you with this. Go on the internet, go on YouTube, and search Norm Macdonald, Courtney Thorne-Smith, chairman of the board, and watch that because it's dynamite. And Dizzle will say this as well. Dizzle will tell you to, and it's a long one. It's like 15 minutes long, but it's well worth it. The Firefly, I think it's the Firefly joke that he did on Conan, which was great. BSOL, this is one of my favorites as well. The Norm Macdonald wife in a coma joke. It is absolutely hilarious. It's not long. It's well worth it. I love it. R.I.P. Norm Macdonald. I don't know, again, how we got on the subject of this. Ferrell, let's do this again next week. We will talk fantasy football, comedy, whatever comes up to mind. Hopefully everybody does well in their FFPC and KFFSC drafts this week. We are getting very close to filling a few of the KFFSC drafts. I'm in the Always Dreaming division of the Sweet 16 for the KFFSC.
With the one Always Dreaming, Balky, we got to get that thing filled.
It's pretty close. I mean, it's very close. And then that is the one that's on June 15th, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah.
Sunday night, June 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern Star.
I am also...
No, that's another one. The slow draft is the old-fashioned. We got to get that one filled.
Okay, the old-fashioned. Okay. So
it's been a long day.
Okay. So here's where we're at. So I'm in the old-fashioned division. That is a slow draft. That is just over half full right now. KFFSC.com is where to sign up for that if you want to compete against me. And then, of course, the Always Dreaming division. We have 2 teams left that will go off Sunday, June 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Dom Guzzetti is in that. Dan Flamholtz, our good buddy, I think he may be in that. Flamholtz and Guzzetti and I are we're organizing, trying to figure out, okay, what drafts are we in Kentucky? Let's all be in the same draft together so we can have fun.
It can happen.
It's always going to be good.
I know who you should talk to make that happen.
Well, who's that?
Me.
Oh, Ferrell Elliott. KFFSC.com. Ferrell, do you want to give your phone number out tonight?
502-523-5057. It's after show talk. just give me a call.
Ferrell will always be up for a conversation, and he will always book you into your KFFSC leagues at kffsc.com. Once you've done that, check out myffpc.com as well. The main event, Early Bird, is going on right now until midnight Pacific time tomorrow. So you have roughly, God, I don't know what that is, 28 hours roughly to sign up for that. Get $200 off your first team. Get entered in the FFPC Pros versus Jones competition. myffpc.com is where to go for that, as well as the Big Gorilla Tournament, the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament, and FFPC Startup Drafts for Dynasty as well. Ferrell, this is a pleasure. So much so that I want to do this again 1 week from now. Thank you so much. We'll talk with you soon.
I'll be there, buddy.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, hanging out with us tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I want to thank so many people who made this show possible tonight. The FFPC, Rob, Bryce, of course, each and every one of you. The Dizzle, who hung out on the show tonight, Ferrell Elliott, and of course, our guest tonight, Scott, and Steve, and I'm going to butcher the name, but I'm going to try it again, Georgalos. Steve Georgalos, who is competing as Fantasy Sopranos in the KFFSC and the FFPC. So if you ever see him in one of your leagues, you can send him a message, say, hey, I watched you on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. You were great, which he was, and hopefully you can take him in your leagues this year. We will be back next Friday. We have another great guest, Kevin Horowitz, who is the 8-time FFPC League champion, will join us to tell us all about his Big Gorilla drafts, how they're going so far this year. That is going to be a great show. In case you missed last night's Insider Access show that we alluded to over the course of the show tonight, Jim Coventry from RotoWire and SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, he joined me on the show last night. A lot of player takes, a lot of player roster construction stuff. You can watch that on the Better Sports Network and the FFPC socials, both of them, at your leisure, and you will be smarter for watching that. It was a lot of stuff that I learned from, and it's a lot of stuff that you're going to learn from as well. Coming up on the Insider Access show next week, Thursday at 7 p.m., it's going to be a good one. We have live draft coverage of the FFPC Best Ball Tournament starting at 7:30, but we will go live at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with myself, Dave Tripoli from the FFPC, and of course, Theo Greminger from Fantasy Points. Theo will be drafting in an FFPC Best Ball Tournament starting at 7:30 next Thursday night. You can join that draft if you want to have us critique your draft on the show as well. Terp and I will be giving commentary. Theo will be drafting his show live. It's going to be great. 7 to 9 next Thursday on the Better Sports Network, BSN Socials, FFPC Socials as well. And then, of course, next Friday night on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour with Kevin Horowitz. FFPC Main Event Early Bird ends at midnight Pacific time tomorrow. Sign up for that. FFPC Big Gorilla. We got a ton of drafts going on, not only tonight with the midnight draft starting in about a half hour or so. We also have a ton of drafts starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow and 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday as well. So if you want to take your chance at $1 million grand prize, you can do that there as well. FFPC Best Ball and Superflex Best Ball tournaments going on at myffpc.com, as well as the Dynasty Startups over at myffpc.com. If you want to play FFPC fantasy football 365 days a year, there's no better place than the FFPC. 2,000 is what we hit today. 2,000 FFPC Dynasty Leagues. If you want to join that fraternity and you want to play fantasy football dynasty leagues at the high stakes level, starting at $100 going up to $5,000. We have the league for you there. Thank you so much to the players that made this happen, and thank you to the future players that will keep growing that number from 2,000 on up. For Ferrell Elliott, for Steve G, I have been Eric Balkman. This is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour here on the FFPC socials. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be next Thursday. Have a great weekend, everybody. It officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We'll let everybody know this too as well. I know I give you a hard time with like the hard sell with FFPC drafts. I'm just telling you right now, we're at May 30th. Whether you want to draft in the KFFSC or FFPC, not a whole lot of new information is going to come out until August. So if you want to cash in on some really good ADP on players that you believe in or don't believe in, now is the time to do it. Over the next 2 months, you're going to be able to build up your portfolio with some really, really good teams if you are right in what you believe. So if you believe in your convictions that how you think about a certain player or players or strategy or strategies will work or will not work, now is the time to do it, because you're going to have 2 months of free drafting where you can cash in maybe some big time prizes, including but not limited to $1 million grand prize in the FFPC Main Event or the Big Gorilla Championship with the FFPC as well. That is my plea to you. Listen, if you don't want to draft, I get it, but I'm telling you, from a guy speaking from experience who's talked to a lot of champions on this show, now's the time to draft. So get in while you can at myffpc.com, kffsc.com. We'll talk with you next Friday.